So welcome everybody to the September Stronger Together Get Together. It's lovely to see lovely familiar faces. Thank you for joining us today. I would now like to introduce our speaker. So I met Carie, the lovely Carie, through this fab community and really enjoyed spending some time with her before the summer. I was bowled over by her no BS approach to sales marketing. Carrie's fairly unusual in that she does cover sales and marketing together rather than just focus on one or the other. So in September, there's a new energy, isn't there, in September? It's a little bit like January. We're all keen to make the most of the last quarter of the calendar year. So I thought it was really appropriate, actually, to invite Carie to come and join us and to help us, to show us how to make success in business possible by sharing 9 things that super successful business owners know and, most importantly, do. So for those of you who don't know Carie, and I know some of you already do, but she is actually known as one of the most sought after sales authorities for purpose-driven consultants and business in the UK. She is most famous for creating a multi-million-pound business, and I love this bit that she created that when from her dining room table whilst bouncing babies on her hip. So she's known challenging times, but she's gone on to help hundreds of her clients create tens of millions of pounds of sales, create lifestyle businesses, six-figure incomes, and growing 7-figure turnovers. So she has this really fab, no nonsense, no BS, easy to apply, real-life marketing sales strategies. And she works with lots of local businesses. She works with consultants, with coaches, and with experts to transform their sales from good enough to exceptional, which is the bit I really like. Good enough to exceptional, love that. So we're really looking forward to hearing her her method is a no theory zone and never involves complex marketing or tacky sales tactics or expensive advertising. And she's continued to reinvent and evolve business through many personal and professional challenges, which she's really proud to say have given her tremendous empathy, actually, and a deep understanding and cutting edge insight into what other people are going through. So remarkably, this year, Carie is actually celebrating 40 years in business. And she is excited about her professional development and business growth stay as she was when she started, she tells me. So we're absolutely delighted that Carie is here today and that she was able to join us. And without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to Carie.
Thank you very much, Julia. Can everybody hear me okay? Just a thumbs up, is that all good? And it's lovely to see some welcome faces on here today. So it's lovely, Julia, as well, to be invited. Julia, can I share screen? Is that all right? Can I share screen? Let me just do this.
Yes, you can.
Great. Just bear with me 2 ticks when I get this up onto my own screen so I can actually see what I'm doing. Great. Okay. So good morning, everybody. Good morning to the Stronger Together community. As I say, it's lovely to see some well-kent faces there. Always makes me just feel a little bit more relaxed when I'm sort of going into any kind of conversation or presentation. In fact, Julia and I were just discussing just before we came on how, you know, I'm 40 years into the business and I still get a little bit nervous when I've got to speak to a group or in public. Not because I'm worried about speaking, but because I want to do a good job. I always want to share the very best. I always want to make sure that you're going away with something. So hopefully today, Julia asked me to prepare something for 45 minutes. So I've got 2 caveats before we get started. One, I'm dyslexic, so if there's any spelling mistakes on the slides, don't judge me. You can tell me afterwards. And the second thing is 45 minutes. Now I could talk for a week on the subject that we're going to be talking about today. I could talk for 3 days, I could talk for a day, I could talk for 6 hours, whatever. So again, what I'm going to do is try to keep this within 45 minutes. We're going to have some Q&A at the end. So please write down as many questions. So if we fall a little bit short on the timing, we can get lots of questions answered. And if we don't have time to answer all your questions, I'm going to be able to show you how you can keep in contact with me over and above that. So I just really want to thank Julia for inviting me to be here today. It is such a pleasure, and I genuinely take it as a real privilege when I'm invited to share my knowledge. And I really want to really thank Julia as well, because she's done such an incredible job creating and nurturing and growing this group through some really quite difficult times. And Julia, having run many groups myself, I know how much effort goes into keeping things not just alive, but kicking as well. So really, big hats off to you, Julia. So here I am. Now it's, you know, I have been in business for 40 years, and that's why now I use an icon of myself really more than my picture, because it's an awful thing when your icon's prettier than you are, but there you go, hey ho, that's life. But I'm Carie Lyndene, aka also known as the Sales Sage. And this year I have been creating, running, growing businesses for 40 years. And in that time, I've either sold or been intrinsic in the selling of tens of millions of pounds of my clients' products and services into the marketplace. I suppose if you were to put me into category, I'm a business growth expert, and I specialise really in working with purpose-driven consultants, micro business owners, and then ethical small organisations and their teams. And I underline the ethical, because I've worked with lots of different organisations who purport to be ethical or a family, and then when you're actually behind the scenes, you go, this isn't quite exactly the picture that you're presenting to the public. So I'm very, very choosy about who I work with, because one of my criteria in business is I like to be able to put my head on the pillow at night and know that I've remained utterly in integrity throughout the day. So that's why when I talk about, you know, no BS, no tacky sales techniques, I really mean it. I really mean it, because I've never yet ever had anybody come to me and say, Carie, you know, teach me some techniques that I can really pull the wool over the eyes of my clients. Nobody wants to do that. So anyway, so really what I want to talk about today is how to make your business, your success in your business, absolutely inevitable. And that's, you know, doesn't matter what the external circumstances, and I'll explain a wee bit more in that in a second. So although I lead on my expertise in sales, in my own marketing, there is not very much that I haven't tackled in business over the years, and I'll share a wee bit about that. So I just want to tell you a wee bit about my background and why you would listen to me in the first place. So my first business was a direct sales home improvement business. I started it in 1982. I know, you know, you might not have even been born at that point, but hey ho, I was starting in business. My first year, you know, we took it from 0 to a 500k turnover, which was pretty exceptional, really. You know, but given the fact that actually I was a nursery teacher who had been made redundant in the Margaret Thatcher years, and so I had no sales experience. But what I did have was a fantastic mentor, and he took me and showed me exactly how to start to create a business. And that was a really powerful thing for me. And ultimately that business had a £10 million turnover. So we did very, very well. My next business was a home-based wholesale distribution, and that grew to a £3.5 million global turnover. And more recently, I created an early years centre. Could everybody just go on mute, because I'm hearing some sort of background noise? If you don't mind, that would be great. I'm easily distracted. But so more recently, around my sort of younger children's, I had almost like two different families, if you like, because I had 13 years in between my first children and my second. I created an early years centre. Now that grew to a 6-figure income from my kitchen. But more importantly for me, what I thought was the real keys to success in that is we became Ofsted outstanding within 18 months. We were able to charge premium rates because we were offering a premium service. And we had a 3-year waiting list. I literally never had to market the business at all. It was absolutely word of mouth. And then in 2013, I set up my current business, which is my coaching and consultancy business. And then what I really focused on was helping others get into their 6-figure incomes and their 7-figure businesses, if that's what they wanted. Now that was all the good stuff. I'll tell you just quickly a bit about the challenge and stuff. As a young mum, I lost my business and life partner, which left me as a single parent, and I brought up 2 boys on my own. I've continued my business through 5 recessions. I counted them up today, 5 recessions. And I grew my early years centre despite being flooded out of the property that I was actually running it from. I thrived. I survived and actually thrived through a fraud that my then PA, perpetrated on me at that time. This was back in 2002, and embezzled my life savings. Now, in 2002, I wasn't a youngster, so I'd actually built up a sort of considerable savings and assets, and I lost the lot, which I could tell you that story and it'd make your jaw drop. But never mind, that's a whole nother movie. I've no intention of participating in the recession that's predicted for 2023. Now, I'm not saying that flippantly, but what I must reference is, we saw unprecedented events during COVID, but somehow many businesses thrived because they had certain things in place that allowed them either to pivot, that was the word of the COVID time, wasn't it, pivot, or adapt or create new models altogether. But the key thing is that they had an infrastructure, they had a foundation in place. And I was able to monitor over my own clients. The ones who had that in place were able to thrive, and the ones who didn't were the ones who had real difficulties, really huge difficulties. So I'm sharing with you the downs that I've had, as well as the successes, because in my humble opinion, no matter how good you are at what you do, no matter how much experience you've got, or even how prepared you might be, life and business, and I learned this from one of my mentors very early on in life, life and business is like a kaleidoscope. One day you look at the picture and it is, it's like this. And then the next day you can look at it and it is like a completely different picture. So it's very important to understand that if we have certain things in place, we can then start to mitigate any of these circumstances that come along. So what can we do to ensure that no matter what the circumstances are, what's going on in our personal life, that we can make our success inevitable? Well, as we know, there is no such thing as a magic bullet to success in business. In fact, it's one of the things that I go on about when I say about, the no BS. I am, and I'm sure you guys are too, up to here with the promises that some people make, particularly in the online space. It's particularly prevalent there, where, this over-promising and under-delivering, because the honest truth is business takes effort, it takes consistency, it takes persistency, and it takes commitment to build that rock solid foundation. But when you put these things into place, and I'll tell you right now, none of this is rocket science. And I'll guarantee there'll be some of this you're already doing. Maybe not all of it, or maybe not all of it all of the time. But the point being is when you start to apply these nine secrets that super successful business owners know and do to ensure that they're generating the right amount of sales into their business on a regular basis. So why do we need this? Because when we understand the concept of how important sales are, and to be able to create a way around that so that we're continually working on that on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually basis, one, more sales equals better sleep. It's simple as that. Two, it equals more profit. So when you're able to pay yourself more, and of course, if the last few years have taught us anything, there is now there's no normal now. The new normal isn't things not being normal. And if you're really smart, and I'll bet you, Richard Cook will be nodding his head at this one when I say this, but when you're really smart in your business, you want to have something like 3 months operational costs in your business savings account and 12 months living costs in your personal savings. And actually, I think that should be our ground zero now moving forward in business, because we just don't know what's going to happen. And it's something that we've just got to understand that actually is our new normal. But the other thing, when we're putting these things into place, we'll get more free time. Initially, some of these things, like people will say, oh, I haven't got the time. I just haven't got the time to do these things. Well, the honest truth is, if you're not doing the things that I'm going to share with you, you actually aren't running a business. Probably what you're doing is managing a job. And that's a very, very different thing. So more sales, more profit, more free time equals a better quality of life. And I can't imagine there's one single one of us doesn't look forward to that on a daily basis. But I want to clarify one thing before I go for any further. When I'm talking about being super successful, that doesn't mean to say that you have to have a huge turnover or a huge client or customer base or even a huge team. What it does mean is you want to be able to be in a place where you rhythmically attract great clients. Your business needs to pay you what you're worth, and that's absolutely critical. I meet a lot of business owners, and sometimes they are, just taking very basic salaries or not even paying themselves, or anticipate, when people are starting up their businesses, I'm not anticipating earning anything for the first year. Why? We need to be paid what we're worth, because again, that not only does that create security, but also it changes our self-esteem and how we're actually presenting ourselves. But also, so a super successful business is something that creates choice for you and impact for your clients. Now, you can apply these whether your choice is a lifestyle business or whether you're looking to grow your business to a performance business. The choice is yours. But whatever one of that is, these things have to be in place. Rhythmically attracting great clients, pay yourself what you're worth, and creating choice for you and impact for your clients. So let's start with secret number one. Now, super successful business owners know and do, but the key thing is they know that success starts in their head. Now, I call that a manifesting mindset. Now, I'm not going to start to go woo-woo, and I don't mind if you think it's woo-woo or not, but in terms of a manifesting mindset, it is totally understanding that there are really three key things to putting this in place. So number one in a manifesting mindset is we must have an awareness. We must have an awareness of ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, our goals, our vision, our purpose, and our why. Because without these things in place, we're really starting to go on that journey without a roadmap. So awareness is one of the key things in a manifesting mindset. The second thing is we've got to be aligning our actions with our goals and our why. And we do this by operating in our zone of genius. Now, if you haven't ever read a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, where he really goes deep into understand about your zone of genius, I really recommend you get it. It's one of my, it's sort of essential reading for my clients, because it really does talk about how when we're not operating from that space, life, we're just making life very, very difficult for ourselves. So finding the joy in what we're doing, aligning that zone of genius with our goals and our actions becomes a huge part of our manifesting mindset. You'll have heard this expression before. It's all about energy. Energy out, energy in. Now, I've looked at this and I've studied this over many, many years, because not only have I invested heavily into my professional development, I've invested heavily into my personal development. And for 100%, you cannot get around this, whether you believe in universal laws or not. What you put out, you get back. And I'm not just talking about necessarily your actions, but in terms of your awareness and your alignment. And the third part of the manifesting attitude mindset is your attitude. And this is all part of the energy that you're putting out. We used to have a thing where we used to, in our when I was in my network distribution business, we used to see team members, and we used to sometimes say, they've got stinking thinking. And if they had stinking thinking, it was because they were in a place in their mindset which they just could not get into that attitude, that place where you cultivate a play to win attitude instead of having a play not to lose attitude. And I want you just to think about that for a second. I want you to allow that to sink in. I want you to feel what the difference is when you're truly, and only you can say this, only you can say if you're truly playing to win, or are you playing not to lose? Now, I can tell you, I've been on both sides of that fence, so I know exactly what the difference is. And what happens is, and this is why I'm talking about when we've got external events, what happens is the best of us will fall into an attitude of playing not to lose. And particularly if we see, I saw this a lot during COVID when other people were starting to see other businesses failing, that what happened was they almost felt a little bit guilty or a little bit hesitant or resistant to continue with a play to win attitude. And the key thing here is when you're playing to win, you don't take anything away from anybody else. In fact, you add and can inspire other people to move from playing not to lose into that same space. So I want you to write that down now. I want you to write down, are you playing to win? Or are you playing not to lose? And there's, no judgment here, because if you are in that place of playing not to lose, it's very easy. It's very easy just to make a different decision. Now, another part, and just a final part on the manifesting mindset is super successful business owners consistently and constantly feed their mind, because they know the more they do, the more they can do. Now, I'm now, in my early 60s, and I know that when I started this business, whenever it was 2013, I could barely switch my laptop on. I'd been working in early years at my early years centre, been doing that for 7 years. So I was very focused on children, Ofsted, council liaison, all that kind of stuff, parents meetings, so I wasn't in social media or any of that stuff. And quite honestly, when I first, the amount of times that my laptop or my PC nearly went out the window was, I can't even tell you how many times that happened. But what I knew was the more I did, the more I would be able to do. So I continually was able to feed my mind. And that could just be little by little. I call it incremental momentum. Every little bit that you do each day to feed your mind, to grow a little bit, has a massive impact. Another great book that I'm a big fan of is Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect, which really explains that in huge detail. Okay, secret number 2. Super successful business owners know that being successful in business is not a lottery. Therefore, they take 100% responsibility for their success and failures. They don't blame the marketplace. They don't blame the economy. They don't blame the government. They don't blame the weather. They know they're in control of their security, their time, and their lifestyle. And they take that level of responsibility and apply it to every single thing that they're doing. Now, again, it's very easy for us when times are difficult to come out of that place, starting to recognize that, well, actually, I've stopped thinking like that. I do it myself. There's times I'm a little bit political at times, and I get very angry when I see things not happening the way that I'd like to with the political leaders, and I can get myself a bit involved. And then guess what happens? I start to move into that bit of a negative attitude. So I have to make sure that I'm continually working on that understanding that it's 100% my responsibility. Everything in my business is my fault. It's either working or it's not, and it's down to me. Even if that's a case of me outsourcing anything or working with somebody else, because something's not worked that I've not taken care of. That's not about micromanaging. It's about taking responsibility. So how do they know? How do they know what to implement? So secret number 3 is super successful businesses focus on what I call moolah methods. They know how to earn more and stress less because They plan, they plan, and they plan. They work the plan, and then they make the plan work. Again, I see lots and lots of people who are just not prepared to do the deep thinking and the planning. And that is the hard work that actually makes if you do the planning at the front end, it makes the back end of the business so much easier. And then they consistently and constantly review the plan. They do that weekly, they do that monthly, they do that quarterly, they do it annually. You know, it's not a one-off event. And I'm not talking about the plan or financial plan that you've got sitting in your drawer that you would give to your bank. I'm not talking about that kind of plan. I'm talking about an action plan. I'm talking about a plan with vision. I'm talking about a plan with strategy. I'm talking about a plan how you plan your projects. And again, it all sounds like, oh God, that's an awful lot of work, Carie. But I promise you, when you put the work in at the front end, the results will drop out the back end. And secret number 4 is they know to plan effectively, they must know their numbers. Now, I call these your vital statistics. You know, without the numbers, maybe numbers don't come naturally to you. I'm more of a wordsmith than you know, a nerd with numbers. I'm just not particularly good, but I've had to train myself. I'm in business. I get very frustrated when people say to me, but these are things that you have to know. Because if you don't know your numbers in your business, you're not running a business, you're managing a job. Now, again, if that's all you want to do, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you've got to be very clear about what category you're falling into. So if you're a bit more advanced in your business, the numbers you need to know is you need to know the average order value of a client. You need to know the lifetime value of a client. You need to know your customer acquisition cost. Sometimes people will say to me, oh no, it doesn't cost me anything because I don't do any paid advertising. It doesn't cost me anything to acquire a customer. It's my networking or it's referrals. There's always a cost to acquiring a customer. And if you don't know the cost of acquiring a customer, how on earth can you plan your marketing? How on earth can you hit your sales targets? So acquiring and understanding your customer acquisition cost. And critically, you need to know your break-even figure, your gross margins, and how much profits you want to make. Now, if these figures, if these vital statistics feel a little bit, you know, out of your pay grade at the moment, which I totally understand, there are 3 other vital statistics that you can focus on right away. So number 1, how many connections are you making with your target market every single week? That could be new connections on social media, but it could also be those who are in your ecosystem. You know, maybe you're emailing them, you're making, you know, posting on social media or private messaging and outreach. Number 2, how many in-depth conversations are you having per week with your target market? And are you able to match their wants and needs with your products and services? Because that is, you see, there's 2 essence to selling. There's 2 things why people will make the two umbrella headings, if you like, why people buy. Number 1, they have a burning desire for your product or service. Or 2, and usually these both have to be in place, they trust you to deliver on the promise that you're making. So you have to be able to be putting these 2 things into action in these in-depth conversations. And 3, how many of these conversations actually turn and convert into paying clients? So if you haven't gone into the deeper set of numbers, those KPIs, you absolutely need to know at least those 3 things to get started. And then you can take the rest as you get a little bit more advanced in your business. Now, secret number 5, they know what they measure, they can manage. So they keep score literally on a weekly basis of those numbers. Now, whether it's the more advanced numbers or the activity that drives those numbers, which are critical to your business. how and when and how often are you monitoring them? You know, I actually work with my clients, and we have a scorecard that we fill in every week, every single week. That scorecard is filled in. Now, again, some people will say, oh my God, I'm too busy to do all that. Okay, that's fine. But I promise you, this is the kind of stuff that's going to secure your business, whatever happens externally. Secret number 6. Super successful business owners know to make time to work on their business. Not in their business, but on their business. Now, many people will say to me, you know, what would you recommend? You know, what would you say is the ideal target to be working towards? And I would say, if you are somebody, so for instance, if you're running a team, you're not necessarily going to be doing the operational things yourself. So you can be working on your business more on the higher level strategy, on that deep thinking and planning that I was talking about. But really, as a business owner, no matter how busy you are, you want to be aiming for about 90 business, not in it. Now, again, some people throw their hands up and go, okay, I just don't have the time for that. I'm run off my feet. And I'll go through, okay, so have you rhythmically cracked the acquisition of great clients? No, not yet. Are you paying yourself what you're worth? Not yet. Have you got security, impact, and choice in your business? Not yet. All right, right, let's get that 90 minutes booked in every day. Now, you might not be able to start with that. You might do 90 minutes once a week. Maybe then you can get build up to 2 times a week. Then you get up to 3 times, and so on and so forth. But I promise you, when you start to build that in, you're making an appointment with yourself to working on your business instead of in your business. That in itself will be transformational for you. Secret number 7. Super successful business owners know how to ignite their marketing. I've used this phrase before, but it's so that they can crack the code of rhythmically attracting and keeping great clients. Now, igniting your marketing isn't about being jazz hands and, you know, PR stunts and, you know, Richard Branson type of marketing. Be so clear on your target market. Now, your target market is the group of people that you serve, but you want to hone that down into that one person who is your ideal client, your ideal avatar. And at any one time in your marketing, you need to be just speaking to that one person. That one person. So guys, even as I'm speaking to you today, I'm speaking to one person. I have in my mind exactly who my ideal client is, and every piece of communication that I have is geared and structured so that that person gets my message. Does that make sense? I really hope that you're looking at that and you're already doing that in your business, because that is going to be absolutely critical. The next thing, that's the market. The next thing is your message. You need to be able to articulate any sentence. You know, we've all heard about 60-second elevator pitches, and that's very important. But you need to be able to articulate in a sentence what it is you do. And remember, a marketing message needs to be like a good joke. I need to get it right away. If you have to explain to me why a joke is funny, it's not funny. So if you have to ever explain to me what it is you do, I'm not getting it. So clarity on your market, clarity on your message, and then clarity on the media that you're going to articulate and communicate that message to your target market. So I'm a really great believer in having, you know, one of the things that I usually teach is, you know, have one prospect, have one main product, solve one problem, and use one platform. So when you actually put these things into action, it means you can really get focused, get really clear, and really get that that part of your business working really well, then you can duplicate that into other things. If you have other products, other sectors of the market that you work with, but really getting clarity on that market, message, and media on those 4 P's. You know, the problem you solve, the who you solve it for, your prospect, what's the product that solves that problem, and what is the best platform for you to articulate that on. And super successful business owners know that doing that, igniting your marketing, can be a bit experimental at times. They know it's they know it takes time to create a successful customer journey and a sales process and a great customer experience, because really if you like, there's almost 3 sections to that. There's the marketing aspect, where we're attracting people to us. There's the sales aspect, where we're converting prospects into paying clients. And then there's our service delivery. Now, we're not going to get all of that right all of the time, but that's why we need to be evolving and monitoring and really ensuring that everything is moving in the right direction, not just for us, but for our clients as well. And it's really important, because we're committed to improving it consistently. You see, really great marketing, great sales, great running a great business is really a combination of that clarity, creativity, and knowing your numbers. I know that's kind of, combined it into one sentence, but really that is it. We do have to drill deep within these things, but that absolutely is the essence of it. Now, secret number 8 is they know they can't do everything themselves. So whether that's getting a business mentor to guide you and to work with you, or outsourcing, or developing a team, employing and developing your team, they know that a super successful is a team effort. And again, you see, if you're a one-man band, and again, nothing wrong with that. I'm a one-man band. But what I do is I have people around me who are the experts at what they do to support me in my business, so that I can operate in my zone of genius. Because my zone of genius is being in front of my client. That's my zone of genius. Really, I said when I first started this business, I said, all I ever want to do is turn up. I just want to turn up. And then, because when I can turn up, I can just give my best. Now, did that happen overnight? No, it didn't. I had to put a lot of effort into getting it to that bit. But I knew that to create a super successful business, it was a team effort. And I had to go through those stages to get there. And secret number 9, they know they don't know what they don't know. So they commit to learning from the best. Now, don't mix up the best with being the most expensive. I think probably all of us have maybe fallen into that trap at some point. Because as I said earlier on, I won't go get on my high horse again, there is an awful lot of BS out there about growing your business. But what the best will include is practical strategies that are time proven. It'll include support and accountability. And it will give you all the information, the inspiration, the ideas, and the implementation that you need to succeed. So if you are serious about becoming a super successful and creating a business that you love and a life on your terms, the first thing that we have to do is we have to create a play to win 1-page business plan. Now, what I've got, guys, is, again, I'm sure this isn't rocket science to you, and you may be already doing this, but this 1-page business plan is the thing that I teach my clients, and I use this as something that they can refer back to and that we can work with. Now, can I just check in with, here with Julia? How are we doing for time, Julia?
We're doing well. Yeah, we're doing well. Yeah, carry on. It's brilliant.
Fantastic. Good, great. That's okay. I'll just how much time have we actually got left, just so I know how I can much.
Got 30 minutes left in total. Yeah, 30 minutes left in total of the meeting.
Perfect, great. Okay, so what I want to show you is the play to win 1-page business plan. Now, why this is so important is because when things are easy to do, they're also easy not to do. And you know, I've looked at, I've bought 1 million planners, I've bought 1 million diaries, I've gone on 1 million courses, and I always end up coming back to this. And this is such a simple thing to do. And, you know, I'll share this, and I'm going to share something else, which I find is a really great resource. I've used it I created it and I've used it for many years with my clients. It's a productivity planner, which I'm going to give you, which ties in with this. And really what this boils down to is we want to be looking at a 3-year vision here. So in here, you'll see your 3-year vision, and that's really your why. And this one, we want to start there, because you've got to start to imagine, what's my life going to look like in 3 years? What do I want it to look? What kind of lifestyle do I want in 3 years? What do I want my business to look like in 3 years? What kind of revenues am I generating? How much profit do I need to be generating to pay for the lifestyle that I want in 3 years? And again, sometimes people will say, I've got no clue. I said, well, we've got to start somewhere. So it may well feel like a bit of a guesstimate, but this isn't written in blood. You can change it. You know, so we start somewhere, we start creating this as a baseline, and then we're going to be working on this regularly, reviewing, because that's the key thing here. So in your 3-year vision, I want you to write down, not now, when I send this to you, I want you to be able to write down, you're going to write down, you know, what your business looks like, what your life looks like, in a small sentence, because I want it fitting in this space, because this is something that you're going to be pinning up on your pin board. I've actually got it. I've just moved to Edinburgh, actually, and when I was in my office, I haven't got an office set up. I'm literally working from home at the moment. But when I have my office set up, I have this pinned in front of my computer, so I cannot miss it. I'm looking at it every single day. What's my 3-year vision? What's the why? You know, what is the why that's actually driving you? What's the end goal here? And why I like a 3-year vision is, I used to do 10 years, but I found that people just could not get their head around 10 years. So we've reduced it to 3 years, and people are really finding that this is actually a very beneficial thing to do. So lifestyle, what does your business look like? What's the structure of your business? Who's in your team? You know, are you working towards an exit plan? What's driving that 3-year vision? You'll definitely need to know your revenues, and you will definitely need to know how much profit drives the lifestyle. Now, once we've done that, now we can start to say, okay, so that's what's happening in 3 years. In fact, I should be clicking these things. There we go. If that's what's happening in 3 years, what else do I need to think about? Well, you need to think about, you know, how much time do you want to be spending in your business? What's the, you know, the zone of genius that I talked about? What's the enjoyment level? What resources will you need to be having your business there? How much money? I mentioned that. And, you know, you want to be very specific here. Now, I know I'm saying that you fit it onto there, but get that into a nice, concise statement that you put onto that 3-year plan. So once you've looked at your 3-year figures, now we can say, well, if I'm going to be there in 3 years, what do I need to do to be on track in 1 year to hit those goals in 3 years? So again, you're going to be looking at, well, what does the revenue need to be? So yesterday, for instance, I was working with a client who we did the 3-year vision, we did that. And we were talking about the kind of house she wanted and the income she wanted. And we looked at and said, really, in 3 years, her turnover would need to be around about 350,000. So if it was going to be 350,000, it was kind of easy then to say, okay, so we'll need to be a kind of a third of the way there in 1 year's time. We need to be looking at how do we get that. So of course, what we did was we set the first year goal, we did it for 108,000. So you want to think about what kind of figures you need if you're going for that 3-year vision. Where does that need to be in a year's time? What will keep you on track? Now, once we've got that figure, we've got to think, okay, what are the deliverables? What are the products that I'm going to need? What's the pricing to make that figure a reality? And do I have the business capacity? Am I able to grow and scale to that? Because there's no point in just doing this as an exercise unless we mean it. Remember, we're playing to win here, not playing not to lose. So getting really clear on your business capacity is really important. And again, I did this with a client who's an HR consultant, and she'd taken on an HR consultancy franchise. And they had given them sort of figures. And when she was looking at things, she said, I just don't know how this is going to work. We did this. And once we actually created out, we looked at our deliverables, the products, the pricing, how do we make those figures a reality? She was like, it was like light bulbs were going on. She went, oh my God, I never thought it was achievable before. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about this. It starts to make your plans achievable and doable, or it'll highlight if you're being unrealistic. I've also had a lady who told me she had no business at all and she wanted to do 3 million in her first year. I was like, no, ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen. Don't have the capacity. You haven't got proof of concept. We haven't got any of the foundations in place. So it immediately highlights the good and the good, the bad, and the ugly of your goals. And then once we know where we need to be in 1 year's time, how do we ensure that we stay on track over each quarter to make sure that we hit those goals? So we have to do a 90-day strategy. And that really is the how. How are we going to make those goals happen? Now, my suggestion is that when we're creating a 90-day strategy, that we work on 3 key projects. And we need to work out what are the critical things that are going to hit our revenue goals. Now, these projects need to be actionable, and preferably you can work them on them consecutively, not all at once, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It just depends on how you're doing. Remember, if you're booking out your 90 minutes a day, you're going to have time to be working on your business. But they do need to be measurable. We need to know when they're completed. We need to know what is, how do we know when that project is finished? And then, very simply with those projects, we break those projects into what are the key actions. And again, I never ask any of my clients to do anything more than 3 at any one time. So what are the 3 key actions that we need in one of those projects to make it happen this week? So you can see on a weekly basis, we're working on 3 key actions, getting that finished. If you get that finished halfway through the week and you bring in another 3 key actions, that's great. But 3 key actions a week, making those 3 key projects in place, working towards that 1-year goal, working towards that 3-year vision. Because you see, I'm no longer having to focus on the vision. All I have to focus on is this week's actions. And I've planned the time to do it on a daily basis. Is that making sense? I know it's when you look, you go, oh my God, that's all so simple. Why didn't I think of that? And I was the same when I sort of got this together. Oh my God, why have I not been doing this for the last 35 years? I've pretty much been doing it for a lot of that time. However, what I would say is I've got better and better and better. I'm very disciplined with it now. I'm very, very disciplined with it. And I hold my clients to very much to account with it. And as I said, the easiest way to complete each project is just to break it down into 3 tasks. And that becomes your to-do. That becomes your to-do list, those 3 tasks. Now, what I do is, and this is, if you like, is my bonus secret for you. My bonus secret to success is do what I call your weekly review. And, you know, I've done this for years. And I actually got the idea from a book by Dave Allen called Get Stuff Done, or something like Getting Stuff Done. The book is actually quite a chunky piece of reading. It's not, it wasn't particularly enjoyable, but he did talk about this weekly review, and I thought, what a bloody brilliant idea. And then what I've actually done over the years is I've kind of condensed it, my own, you know, how I work myself, and I've created an ebook planner on this, and it's how to massively increase your productivity and your profits, I have to say. So again, whether you're a one-man band or whether that's first thing on a Monday morning, I do my weekly review on a Friday morning. But what I do is I go through and I basically follow everything within the planner. Now, what this allows me to do, I'll just show you here, there's quite a lot in it. What this allows me to do is by doing this, taking this 2 hours on a Friday morning, which is my 90 minutes, by the way, on this, what I do is I'm able to examine the week that's gone by. I'm able to plan the week that's coming. I'm able to look at what's worked, what's not worked. I've monitored my results. I've monitored all those vital statistics. I've kept a record, and I'm now very clear on the actions I need to take, because I'm going back to my one-page business plan. You'll see it's there, it's on one of the pages. I'm going back to my one-page business plan to ensure that I'm on track. Because I don't know about anybody else here, but you know, I'm very precious with my time. You know, time is clocking on for me now, and I don't have time to waste. I don't have time to put into activities that are not going to be, I call them income producing activities. You know, if I'm spending time on my business, it needs to be an income producing activity. And by God, is this one of the best income producing activities that you can do? So even though it's not customer facing or client facing, in terms of the strategy and keeping your business on track, it's one of the most important things you can do. So if you'd like my one-page business plan, or if you'd like both my productivity planner, what to do is contact me or message me, or connect with me rather, or message me on LinkedIn, and I'll happily ping those over to you. And as I say, you know, how do I know this works? Because I've been applying it for 40 years to my businesses and to my clients' businesses. But, you know, it doesn't, none of this, you don't get all of this right all at once. It takes practice. And remember, it takes consistency, and it takes commitment, and it takes discipline. But if you want to be a super successful business owner who makes their success inevitable, I really do hope you take on board, or you're already doing, the things that I've shared with you today. So Julia, that is my little presentation finished.
Absolutely incredible, Carie. I have written pages of notes. Thank you again, Carie. The October meeting is on the 12th of October. The link is in the comments. The October meeting is going to be very popular. Share a business tip and something that has tripped you up. It's hugely popular, and do register for that because it's bursting with value. But apart from that, I'd just like to say to everybody, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you very soon, and thank you again, Carie.